Okay, so now that you've seen some of the work that we're doing here in the OPL, what we're going to do is try and discuss how this fits into an open innovation framework. So just so you know, we have our cheat sheets and we're ready to rock and roll. So in terms of what we're passionate about, one of the things about the OPL is that we try to bring together a wide range of passions. So one of my biggest ones is collaboration, getting people to create and really embrace all these authoring tools, and also trying to get our student workers and now our postgrad workers, actually with these two, to also be able to express their passion. So what are you passionate about right now, Guy?
I'm really passionate about creating cool things, but it's more specifically, my interests lie in artificial intelligence. I'm very passionate about making machines that can pull together a lot of information from different sources and figure out how it's related.
So can you like talk about how that influences like the work that you showed on Page to Pub?
Sure. So for Page to Pub, a lot of the problems we've run into are related to intelligence. Like, for example, typically a user will gather content from the web, and without our application they'd have to go into something like Adobe InDesign and drop it into a layout and figure out how it's supposed to flow and do a lot of editing and reflow to get it to fit. And our application is supposed to do that automatically. But how do we do that? Because the user could be gathering anything, and the web page that they're gathering it from could present it in any way. So we've had to design a system that tries to take that into account and make decisions about the appropriate way to lay it out. And that interests me, because you're trying to make a system that's more intelligent, that's more human-like.
Cool. Now on the other side, and this is the cool part about exactly what we do at the OPL, I'm going to bet that artificial intelligence will not top Rachel's list.
It's not a passion, and I don't know too much about it. So one of the great things about the OPL is that our backgrounds are so different that people like me really learn a lot about the other end of the spectrum, such as technical background or engineering, software, everything that I wasn't taught at RIT but was taught in the lab. But one of the things that I'm really passionate about and have been passionate about for quite some time is empowering people to make their own books, to kind of share their own stories, and create their own personal reflection about things that have happened to them or things that they feel passionate about. I think it's important that everyone has a creative outlet, and I think that by building books and designing books and publishing books, people can really feel a sense of accomplishment by doing things start to finish. And having a printed book is something that is a feeling that to me is going to be irreplaceable, and it's fun working in the lab where some people have a different sense of that, but it's something that is always going to be with me, and I'm always going to try and spread the word and have people do it themselves and empower people to actually start the process.
And where this all kind of comes back together, and what we're trying to do here within the lab and then outside of the lab is to enable these conversations. And like I said earlier, it's just the change in the publishing industry is so radical right now. And really, from our perspective, Rachel, who's gone through our printing and publishing program here within the School of Print Media, is teaching students like Rachel to be able to articulate and think about these new questions, but also understanding that the solutions aren't just going to be found within that program, and that we need to get a larger conversation that involves folks like Guy to help develop the solutions. But then the other piece, which is equally important, and why our third E is empowering people in communities, is it's not just a case of building it and they will come, but one of the things that we're really going to be looking at, and we'll talk a bit more when we get to networking, is how do we get that out into the community, and whether that's the business community, whether that's a community of creators, that's really important as well. So much of this work is both trying to do the blue sky work, like how do we create a program with enough artificial intelligence that it understands what a document is and understands the context of a document, so it can strip out navigation, that it can get only the important pieces to go to one medium, but then also how do we actually connect that to the ground and help that change, change somebody's life. And that's really, for me at least, and I think for both of you as well and everybody else who's worked here, the powerful thing about the OPL and about publishing is that at the end of the day, you know, it's not like we're designing a better refrigerator or even kind of a really, really cool algorithm and it just ends there, but we really get to touch to the creative process and really get to help people, empower people, or 30, extend, enable, and empower to create things. So, I mean, as far as what we see for the future, for the OPL, like I was saying, is we want to continue to grow, we want to continue to integrate, we want to continue to think about new publishing applications and be involved with vibrant communities. So, like, for example, with the O'Reilly Media's Tools of Change and with organizations like iOpen, but it's also to get students excited, and especially not just students within our publishing program, but students like Guy or some of the other students from across campus who wouldn't normally, and Rachel says this a lot, have contact with the students in this building, but get them interested in these problems and find challenges for applying things like artificial intelligence work. How about you? Where do you two see the future of publishing?
I see it going in a lot of different directions, and I don't see it fitting to one path versus another path. I think people feel strongly in the fact that publishing should stay in print and that there's a certain value to print publishing versus electronic publishing. And I do see that people are going to latch onto electronic publishing and kind of do their own way. If they prefer print, they're going to stick with print. If they prefer cool new gadgets like a Kindle, then they're going to buy it, they're going to invest in it, and they're going to use it. I think it's just a matter of what I think of as old-fashioned versus new-fashioned. There's people like me that are old-fashioned but still adopt to the new fashion, and there's people that welcome the change and want to see things move in a more technological direction that will benefit them easier, quicker, and even if they have to spend a little bit more money up front, in the long run it's probably going to be cheaper for them. So I don't see publishing as sticking one way or another. I see people really having a stronger personal opinion and adopting one way versus the other. Guy, I don't know if you feel differently about that.
I mean, I've sat and thought about what publishing is going to look like, and for a while I wasn't able to come up with any definitive answer, but I think basically a lot of it's like what you said, Rachel. It's not going to look like any one thing, but I think it's definitely going to have several characteristics. I think it's going to be more portable, more timely, and also I think more context aware. I mean, sometimes you've probably had the experience. You're on the highway and you're wondering why traffic is slowing down, and you turn on the radio and there's no traffic update, or there's a traffic update that has nothing to do with why traffic is slow. And you think to yourself, well, I wish I could figure out, why it's slow. Like, I wish I knew if there's like some news story I'm not aware of. Is there highway maintenance? Is there like, a 12 tanker accident? Mm-hmm. As unlikely as that sounds. But I mean, things like that. If you had more context-sensitive information, I think that'd be very powerful, because then people would have the information they need at the time they need it, rather than just having information everywhere that's always timely.
And I think that that's really a key piece within this, is that, traditionally when we think about publishing, we're thinking about the book form, or we're thinking about the newspaper form in a very traditional way. But so much of what we're doing is enabling the flow of information in context, and just thinking about different ways to do it, and that's going to be increasingly part of this. So the exciting thing for us is we're not going to run out of problems anytime soon.